Hey guys, Wacky Player here, and today I wanted to talk about core teams and why I think that it's kind of an antiquated idea. So recently I saw this great video by Calvin Awesome, and he was talking about core teams that people should farm for roster building. And it got me thinking about roster building and how my approach to it now, especially since on my free to play account, I'm 2 mil like fairly early, and I'm focused on roster building. I'm focused on setting up the account for long term success. So one of the things that came up, what was like the first thing I thought about was that the reason core teams like some of the core teams are like CLS, Padme, Geonosians, Emperor Palpatine with Mara Jade, Vader, Thrawn, Gas, General Grievous, Bounty Hunters, Peel Troopers, Darth Revan, Jedi Knight Revan. The reason that the first thing that I dislike about all these teams is that they're kind of all over the place, like farming wise. So the thing is that these teams are good teams. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like they're top of the line anymore. CLS is really good. I'm really biased into that team. Like I really love it. Gas is really good. Bounty Hunters, Pale Troopers, Darth Revan, like they're all really good teams. But some teams you could farm instead, like a Treas Vaj team with two Omicrons, is incredible. Like all the way up to Kyber one, right? Whereas CLS doesn't get as much, you know, usability up there. Or Padme, unless you're doing Gidme counters. Or Geos, you know? So that was the first thing that I thought about. I was like, okay, like the power level of these teams have definitely gone down with releases and Omicrons being, you know, released and characters being reworked and whatnot. So these teams are kind of some of them that haven't got lifters, and we've seen with Grievous's lifter, the stab, it's not as crazy as people thought, are kind of falling behind in some regards, but they're still really solid teams. But my thinking was that the focus early game should be resource collection, not getting easy teams that are like viable in GAC, because resource collection is what matters most for roster building. I think you need to set up a good foundation of, you know, being able to collect a lot of crystals, chirotechs, and all this other type of equipment and gear, so that down the road you can farm really good things like galactic legends that are take a lot longer to farm faster, or you could farm just something you enjoy and want to do, you know. So the first thing that I suggest is, it doesn't matter what farm path you're going for, plan, you should go for a really good fleet. And what I mean by that is, like, if you're building up, like, what I recommend is going executors first. And I'll show you the executor farm later, but I recommend going basically a ship like that. That's incredibly good. But let's say you didn't want to do that. Let's say you wanted to go for like Grievous, right? You wanted to go for Malevolence, right? So what I would recommend is building up Geos, right? And then building up Padme team, you know, using those Geos you unlocked. Relic Brood plus the pilots, okay? And then I would recommend working towards gas, which means building up your Padme team, building up your General Grievous team, because I would recommend relicking, you know, General Grievous and then these other droids, and then, you know, working on Asajj Ventress, and then farming your Galactic Republic ships as well, and but first focusing on your Malevolence, you know, and first work on Malevolence fleet and then work on your Galactic Republic fleet, and then you'll have two fleets done that are absolutely incredible. And since you were farming the Vulture droid, that's also on the same note as item versio, so you could even do a really cheap item versio farm. Um, so that's what I mean by whatever farm plan, because I don't think you should try to go for CLS Padme Geos. Like you should check off all these teams. Like, yep, this is I got this team done, I this team done. I think they should kind of work into each other. So like if you're going Geos, work into Padme, and then once you get Padme, and if you go Geos, build up your Geonosian, your Malevolence fleet. Work building your Padme team. Make sure your Geo pilots are relict, and then build up your General Grievous team. Make sure that they're relict, and then work your way into gas, and then build up your Galactic Republic fleet, right? And then, you're gonna probably want Marauder in there as well. So like, you're probably gonna I don't even is Marauder even farmable right now? It is, okay. So you're probably gonna build up you can get away with low gear Bad Batch, but it's like it's a really good excuse to build up your Bad Batch. But I recommend building up your fleet first, right? And then using that kind of as a guide into what you go for next, right? Um, but but what I think is really really good is once you have your fleet kind of secured, so you got a pretty good fleet with a relic that's getting you top 50 somewhere, ideally rank 1. But depending on what you want to go for, it's going to be different, right? So that you're getting these extra crystals every day. Like if you can, like right now, from just every day being in Kyber 3, I get 225 crystals. So if you're ranked 6 to 10, and you're new to the game, right? You just hit level 85 or whatever, and you're Carbonite, you're getting the same amount of fleet crystals, like crystals from fleet as I would from Grand Arena. And then if you get rank 1 every day 400, I mean, that's a lot for an early game account. That can really change a lot. Um, and so that's why I recommend going for Executor, because it's a very good early game fleet that's not too bad to rush. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was how it's an antiquated idea because you can farm things like this team, which has two Omicrons you need to apply. Yes, Talon has one. You don't need to. These two units are pretty easy to farm because with the raid, Treya is pretty fairly easy to get. Savage, Squad Store, Nihilist, Scion, I think are both just regular node farms, and Talon's Cantina. So, but the thing about this team is that once you throw the Omicron on Treya, you get value out of this team at low gear. You throw it on defense, and you will get holds. People will underestimate this team. It requires something way bigger to take it out, and that's why I really, really like it. Even though on my main account I don't have this, on my free to play account I'm actively going for this. Um, and so what I recommend is after you work on your fleets, you make sure that you can get all the assault battles challenge tier 1 completed, because the challenge tier 1 rewards you with Kyrotechs, and being able to get something like 35 free Kyrotechs a month or something like that, uh or it's 35 of each, I think, because there's 7 different assault battles, and I think, and for challenge tier 1 you get 5 of each different Kyrotech, plus the other rewards you get is absolutely amazing, especially when you're early game. The first time you complete the mythic tier, I think, the one before challenge tier 1, you get 2 free Zetas. So you get 14 free Zetas for being able to just be able to do the easier tier of this, which is really, really good for roster building. And that's why I think, you know, securing your fleet crystal income is so important, because you're not going to be able to get Grand Arena crystal income till way later that's even competitive with fleet crystals. And then assault battles teams are going to build up your GAC roster, and it's going to build up your income you get month to month. So the thing is that even if you're not going to be winning every GAC, it doesn't matter, because you're going to be collecting so much resources that you're just setting yourself up to be able to farm whatever you want in the future. Um, And what I recommend is getting your Imperial troopers, and basically because this team is Empire and Imperial troopers, it covers two assault battles because there's one that's Empire or droids and there's one that's Imperial troopers or bounty hunters. So getting this one covers both of them. And I really like this because this allows you, this is an amazing team that's really good at low gear. A Piet is a requirement for Executor. Um, Veers is a requirement for C. You could take out Gideon and you could put in Colonel Stark as a requirement for C if you really wanted to. But this team is incredibly good with this. And it's really worth all the relics you put on them. Like getting them Relic 3 and Relic 5 Dark Trooper would be fine if you just wanted to kind of minimal relics. You could take you could do them all gear 12. I would just say minimum be able to, for any of these teams, take them to whatever minimum they need to finish challenge tier 1. That's what I say. This, and the thing is, you only need one Zeta really on this team, which is Emperor's Trap. So whenever you attack out of turn or counterattack, or start your turn, I think with a Imperial Trooper, they gain you gain Emperor's Trap, which is a stacking offense and potency buff, and with Veer's Lead, which doesn't require a Zeta, you gain turn meter whenever an Imperial Trooper ally gains a buff. So every time you're gaining a stack of that, you're gaining buffs. And then you're getting with the Zeta, it makes it so that's 100% turn meter chance on top of some other buffs that are really nice, which isn't required, but definitely makes it a lot less risky in GAC. But that's what's really nice about this team. You really only need one Zeta. The next team I recommend would be, for assault battles, would be Phoenix with Captain Rex. Now, even though Captain Rex is a new unit that's not accelerated, don't be scared, because he's worth the time and investment. But also, this team, you can have a Zeb in here just from the Galactic War Store, the shipments, and you can get him 7 stars and easily unlock Thrawn. Have low gear Thrawn in your account with you could start working towards unlocking a Chimera. So it's kind of really nice. But and then with a low gear Captain Rex 3 stars, you throw the Zeta on him, which I have on my free to play account. Actually, I could show you. This is my Phoenix on my free to play account. And you will get a surprising amount of holds with just a Captain Rex with, just a Zeta on him. These teams I really like because it basically tricks your opponent into underestimating them or throwing something like a really good team at, a pretty low gear team overall. And you really only need one Zeta, and ideally 2 or 3, and the other would go to Kanan or Hera. And this team is really nice because it covers 2 assault battles. It covers 1, which is the Rebel assault battle, and 2, the Phoenix assault battle. And so the thing about this first tab I have here, Core Teams Are Dead, is that this one is basically like if you wanted to just go for assault battle teams and completely neglect fleet, which I don't recommend, but I'm saying these are the minimum assault battle teams you really need to be able to do all the assault battles. As far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure these cover all 7. And then the next team is, let me just think about this. Did I cover everything that matters about the Phoenix team? The Phoenix team also is a pretty good side farm, I call it, because only Hera and I think Hera and Sabine are the only one that are on regular energy node. Everyone else is on is in like the shipments, like easy shipments. So Cantina, Squad Store, and then uh you have Ezra who's on Cantina with Kanan. So like that's very easy to get and really fast. And then Zeb instead of Captain Rex to unlock Thrawn. And then you can have Captain Rex, which is very slow, but like I said, very useful, even 3 stars low gear with 1 Zeta. So that's why I really like this team because you only need, there's really 2 hard nodes to farm, and really only 1 if you are just trying to unlock Thrawn. But there's two for these two. And then what I really like next is this Traya team because with 2 Omicrons, right? And if you're building up your account, you don't spend your Omicron on Captain Rex. He doesn't need it. He's amazing otherwise. Use your Omicrons here, and you can have an amazing defensive team that's absolutely insane, and also you have incredible on offense as well. Traya is through the raid currency, and it's not that hard to get into a guild that's getting you a decent amount of raid currency. Savage is squad shipments, and these guys are regular nodes, and Talon I think is Cantina. The thing is though, you really only need like this Zeta plus this Omicron to make this team good, but obviously like I recommend putting both Zetas on her, you getting the Zeta and Omicron on Savage. Like if you're not going to go for the Omicron on Savage, then don't put him in this team. You should be getting the Zeta and Omicron on him. So really it's double Zeta, double Omicron team. And her lead is really amazing as well. But you really don't need the other Zetas that much. As far as I'm aware, because like it's not as important. This is really nice to inflict health down, but it's definitely something that's not necessary because the Omicron, you're basically trying to lower, you're getting a lot of benefits like just stats and making your team incredibly tanky, but you're really trying to get Nihilus's annihilate off cooldown so that you can just instantly defeat an enemy, which at worst fucks up the enemy banners if they kill this team in one shot, and at best makes it so that the enemy doesn't know how to play around Treya's Omicron and just gets wiped by him. Because this Omicron makes it so that when Treya gets below, I think anyone gets below a certain HP threshold. Um, da, 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 da. Darth Talon is critically hit or inflicted with a debuff. Treya gains offense. When an allied Darth Nihilus Scion or Darth Talon falls below 90% health for the first time, their cooldowns are reset. So these abilities that are on cooldown for them, Annihilate, Held by Hatred, Dark Frenzy, these abilities that are really good, that are usually on cooldown, become something that just instantly, they're instantly able to use them. And then you have, Savage as a constant tank that's just stacking stats and dealing an insane amount of damage. This next team I recommend is really comes because of the farm plan I recommend. You could replace Jedi Knight Luke with Jedi Knight Revan, or probably not Grandmaster Yoda, but you could probably replace him. You could probably replace this with like Bastilla Shan, Jedi Master Yoda, and then a really good like General Kenobi, or like another really good Jedi here. I recommend this because the next kind of farm plan I'll show you really makes sense why you go for Jedi Knight Luke. So I'm not going to talk about this for too long, but this, you need a Jedi assault battle team done. And what I really like about Phoenix is that they have so many different tags. You have 2 Jedi that you can throw in for this assault battle down the road. And then there's 2 options for the last one. The last assault battle is Tuskens or Inquisitors that you need to fulfill. The thing is, it's really up to you. So Inquisitors are heavy Chirotechs because they're all newer-ish characters. They're all accelerated, so you don't have to deal with that. Tuscans are is an incredibly good team that you're going to get insane value out of instantly when you build them up. Even low gear with Tuscan Raider Omicron, you only need one Omicron, right? Or there's one requirement for Jabba, right? The one I have relic here, and uh, they're all accelerated. Tuscan Warrior is on a Cantina node, so you can easily get that Tuscan Warrior 7 stars real fast if you just 300 crystals a day, Cantina refresh, just focus Tuscan Warrior. Chieftain is on the same node as Tuscan Raider, and Tuscan Raider is in the shipment store. So this is like a really easy team to get up and running, I would say. And three of the units like don't require Chirotechs until, relicking them. You have two Galactic Legend requirements because Tuscan Raider is needed for one. And it's an amazing team inside Grand Arena and outside Grand Arena because Tuscan Raiders Omicron is the 3v3 Grand Arena only. And it will get insane amount of holds in 3v3, especially against people that don't know what they're doing against it. This team can be used on defense or offense. A lot of people, like sometimes when I face Tuscans, basically the thing about Tuscans is whenever an enemy gains bonus turn meter, they gain a stack of momentum. And then at 10 stacks, whenever they're targeted by an enemy, that enemy gets stunned and it can't be resisted. And they gain damage over time. So the thing is, like, when I'm facing Tuscan, sometimes I'm like, oh shit, damn, I have to remember what teams I have that like don't have bonus turn meter, because so many teams nowadays have attack out of turns, bonus turn meter. And so if you have teams that counter that, teams that are kind of reactive, that don't need insane amount of speed to go first, it's really helpful for beating a lot of like larger accounts, I would say. Obviously it's not going to be like, instantly make you Cairo on, but it's really something that's helpful. So that's the benefits of Tuscans. And the downsides is really where the benefits of the Inquisitors come from, because the Inquisitors have ships, right? And this team also works into Grand Inquisitor, and I would say that if that was the end of the benefits of Inquisitors, that you're just unlocking a legendary character, I would say don't do it, because it's a territory war oriented character that's decent, but not going to get you as much resources or as much benefit as Tuscans would. But because Second Sister also has a conquest ship, then you have Scythe for the Grand Inquisitor and Fifth Brother, I think. That's another ship. And then you have Reva that you can unlock. So basically, like, if you go for Inquisitors over Tuscans, it's essentially you're committing to the long game. So like the idea with this would be that if you do this, I'll get them all Relic 5, then unlock Grand Inquisitor, then get the Grand Inquisitor team that you need to unlock Reva to Relic 7, and then try to find a Reva focused guild that you can join to help them farm Reva. And you could be like really low GP, like for having a full Relic 7 Grand Inquisitor squad. And essentially the idea there is, because you're so focused on Reva shards, instead of going for like Watt shards early game or whatever, you're probably going to be in a guild that has like better raid rewards, better rote rewards, right? Better territory war rewards, and they might even ignore requirements like you need GLs, because they'll be like, fuck it, we need people to have Inquisitors. And so that's the benefit. The benefit is your guild's going to get you a lot more resources, which is really nice, especially when you're trying to get a lot of gear pieces from the raid and whatnot. And so that's kind of the reason that I would recommend either or. And the thing is, with all of this, it's dependent on your farm. So like if you're going for like, SLKR first, you're probably not going to want to build up Sith, because I'm pretty sure instead of Sith, you could just build up First Order for that assault battle. So you do that, right? And if you're doing first order instead of um, SLKR, and you might actually be inclined to build up Night Sisters instead of Phoenix, because one, the Night Sister team can actually get challenge tier 3, and they can also like auto complete it, because because Nihilus will kill in the assault battle one of your Phoenix members, and two, because you can actually use DACA and Night Sister Zombie with SLKR, so there's some potential there. But really, because SLKR or Night Sisters is a really good team, and Marin's the only one that's a character that is more expensive to get, but is really worth it in the end. So it would be something where it's like you don't need to build up Thrawn, and you could definitely get Night Sisters instead and have some benefits there, right? You'd probably still want Imperial Troopers. And then Jedi, it would definitely just change because let me look at the SLKR requirements. You need Palpatine, 7 stars, right? So that might change. I mean, you have so many First Order that I'm pretty sure First Order and Sith is the one that the same assault battle. But you need no, you don't need BB-8 or JTR. But anyway, uh, depending on what you're actually planning on going for, it's going to change the way you look at the assault battles. But what I recommend is getting your fleet situated first, then getting all the assault battle teams done. And so, like for a new account, and this is essentially what my second account, my free to play account, is doing, is a farm plan like this. And basically, it's a like this is my second account, and it's focused on trying to go for executor, and then building up uh the assault battle teams, right? And so what you'll see is that I'm working on my last executor requirement, finishing up my Beskar Armor Mando because he's a pilot. I think he's a really underrated unit. I really love him. And then finishing up IG-11 and Queel for him, and then throwing some executor, bounty hunters with him. Then you see I'm building up my assault battle teams, getting Jedi Knight Luke for my assault battle team there, and then I'm actually doing Inquisitors because I'm gonna do Tuscans on my main account, and I want to see if the heavy Chirotech investment up front is gonna be worth it in the long run. Yeah, and so up to this point, that's essentially what I'm following on my free to play account. And so what I recommend is like get Vader, and I'm taking this from a perspective of like just hit level 85, right? Or you're working towards leveling up. Uh, Vader should be your first relic if you're going for Executor, right? Build up your Imperial Troopers, and I say get Piet Relic 8 later. Essentially, just build them up. You could keep Veer's Gear 12, take Dark Trooper Relic 5. You could get them 7 stars, I would say. You could keep Range Trooper Gear 12, Moff Gideon Gear 12, Piet, you could keep Gear 12, honestly. I would say relic him to like Relic 3 to Relic 5 or whatever, and then get R8 later. Then build up this Bounty Hunter team and Grief Karga and Mando, get him Gear 12. Okay. Get Bosk to be Relic Bosk first, to be Relic 5. That's the executive requirement. Boba Fett, get him up to Relic 8, and then build up, Dengar, or actually do IG-88 first to Relic 5. It's just IG-88 is going to be better than Dengar. Or Dengar's going to be better than IG-88 in this team, but because IG-88's a pilot, you're going to want to Relic him first. Then I would say build up this CLS team. And so to do that, obviously you're going to need the requirements. So you're going to need to build up Ewoks, and you're going to need to build up the rebels required for CLS. The Ewoks that I recommend building, that are recommended, basically you can look up any guide and it's going to say to do these 5 Ewoks, and you need Chief Chirpa Zeta, and that's it. Simple as that. And then and then the requirements for CLS is really easy. Um, it's him, boom, 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 him. Where's R2? R2, Leia, and then Farm Boy, right? And Stormtrooper. Yeah, I think this is all the requirements. Um, if you're going to heavily invest in any of the units, invest in the top three. Don't invest in these two. Try to keep them like max gear 7, maybe gear 8, and then invest heavily into these guys if you really feel like the need to. But you should be able to get it with like gear 7 to 8, and also they're old units. They don't take Cryotex or anything. And then finish your CLS team, fully relic them, finish 3PO, um, fully farm them, get them 7 stars, get them all to relic 5, I would say minimum, right? Don't do what I did where I get them relic 3 for Chewbacca and CLS, get them all to relic 5. I did it on my free to play account. This is one of the first teams I actually did get relic. And this team is amazing to put on. I love putting it on defense because it requires so much more to beat it than you put into the team, like invest into it. And also you can take it on offense to beat stuff like, I'm pretty sure you can beat Star Killer with it. You can beat Gas with it. Like really good teams you could beat with it. And then you want to finish your executor requirements, your pilots, and then you want to get your executor. It's up to you if you want to keep the 5 stars for temporary, and then or save a bunch of crystals to get 7 stars. But what I recommend is that as soon as possible start farming those executor requirements. And one thing that I actually recommend for people, and I did on my free to play account, is these packs. So these bounty hunter ship packs are probably the only pack I actually recommend for any character or ship, because if you look at the drop rate for this pack, it's really really good. So normally like a new character pack will be 1400 crystals, and it's like you're most likely to get 5 shard drops. But if you look at this, you actually have the most. You have a 52% chance to get 15 blueprints for a ship. And then I like for basically 500 crystals, right? Let's see. Can we find any of these guys in any of the stores? Any of the shipments? Because I want to see, or let's just go to the shipments and then look at how much it costs for the drop rate of certain ships. So right here, TIE Echelon. For 100 crystals less, you get 11 less shards, right, of a ship. And if you get unlucky, you get the 5% chance. Okay, whatever. But it's not that terrible, right? For the bounty hunter ships. And then let's see what the other drop rates are. And then if you, get save up, you should really save up for this one because it's cheaper. Also, it's essentially it's the same odds to get 5 blueprints. Or no, 10. No, it's not even 5. Oh my god, it's even better than I was saying. It's fucking 10 blueprints. You have the same chances to get 55. So this is like an insanely good way to get these ships up and running really, really fast. And I highly recommend people do it if you're going for Executor. Like, this is the only pack I'd recommend. Only, like, character drop pack or ship drop pack. Incredibly good value, and it's really insane. And then once you finish your Executor, you basically want to finish up building these guys. Executor pilots, Bam, Cad Bane, plus Queel IG-11. And then I suggest, at the same time also farming Wampa because the next step is going to be working towards your assault battle teams, and then one of your assault battle teams is going to be Jedi Knight Luke in there. Um, and then yeah, and so after you finish Executor, and you're working on your BAM and your Cad Bane, and your Wampa, these are some of the teams you're going to have at your available to you. You're going to have CLS. You're going to have a Bounty Hunter team set up. You're going to have a BAM team ready to go. You're going to have a Darth Vader solo, which is really, really nice. You're going to have Imperial Troopers. And then you're going to have a low gear team like this. Because with side farming, you can easily get, like, I'll show you my free to play account. I'm actively working towards the Executor. I'm 13 out of 14 requirements. And I have my Phoenix. I basically got I got thrown passively, essentially. An event that gave me a bunch of Phoenix shards, and I just farmed node for Hera. So I got Thrawn passively, and the big deal like to get about getting Thrawn passively is because of his ship and the TIE Defender. So when you're going for the Executor, you have to farm 3 Empire ships, right? And when you farm these 3 Empire ships, it makes a great fleet if you also get the TIE Defender. And so I recommend trying to get the Chimera TIE Defender with your Executor ships almost at the same time you're farming Executor, because it's not too much out of the way, and it makes your Grand Arena much better while you're farming Executor. So like right now, my defense is my defense for a while was actually Akbar with the bounty hunter ships and Han's Millennium Falcon, because to lock Han's Millennium Falcon, you just need the bounty hunter ship, so it's like you get that for free. But now I've been buying the Ghost and Phantom 2 in the fleet store, and so now I actually have three light fleets. I have a Rebel fleet, and then I have an Empire fleet with these guys, and then I have my bounty hunters I put with Tarkin, just temporarily. Um, and eventually it's going to be obviously bounty hunters with Executor, and then Chimera with these guys are staying the same. And then I'm just going to unlock the Gauntlet and Shuttle as well the other ones to add to this fleet. And then for the Rebel fleet, it's really not changing much except for farming Y-Wing at a certain point just to have a free tank. Or just keeping it as is and then worrying about Geonosians down the road. So like on my not free to play account, but here, after you finish your assault battle teams, I recommend getting your Geonosians and Grievous up and running, because basically this team just they have so much value. Geonosians are really good pilots. Get the Territory War Omicron and makes them amazing in Territory Wars. This is a really good team you could put on defense, and you could have it. And the thing is, you could just keep them gear 12, and you could get watch shards for your guild if you're doing that. It doesn't if you aren't. You can get probably like a decent amount of holds on defense against people that don't know what they're doing or that underestimate Geonosians. You also have 3 pilots that are absolutely incredible. A lot of these units are pretty easy to farm, like Poggle is like Galactic War shipments. Um, and the Territory War Omicron is like so incredibly good. I think almost every guild basically has like a geo wall in it now. Uh, Besides that, it's like an easy Padme unlock. So if you want to build up a Padme down the road for like um a Lord Vader Kenobi farm, I forget which one needs it, then you can do that. And then I'd recommend building up Grievous next, because it works. The 4 of the units work in a gas. Grievous is a capital ship pilot. This team's really good, even though they get countered by Wampa on defense. The stat makes it a little bit more tricky, but it's not like a 0% win rate for the Wampa. So I But the thing is, it's really good against people that don't have Womp or don't know what to do against on defense, and it's pretty good on offense. Like I'm pretty sure it beats Star Killer, which is placed on defense from time to time. Let's see. And I think Jedi Master Luke's, if you have enough relics on them. Yeah, Star Killer, uh really good against Qui-Gon Jinn. That's really nice for not having to take that, bring another team in, even with Kelleran Beck, which is nice. And this is a Nuke Gunray with Nuke Gunray in there instead of Droideka. And Nuke Gunray is not that hard to get. He's in Squad Store. Um, Geonosians you could take out with Droideka in there, the team that I was showing. First Order, Grand Inquisitor, again with Nuke Gunray, so take out Droideka, put a Nuke Gunray. Um, and I mean, pretty good teams you're able to beat. They're not going to be they're not like top of the line stuff, but they what they are a lot of teams you're going to face. And having a Grievous is going to be something that you definitely don't regret. And at worst, you can just put on defense. And like if you put, here's the thing, like if you have an Iden, and like if you have an Iden team that you got from just farming Iden Snowed because you're actually going to need to get the Vulture Droid, right? And then when it comes to Imperial Troopers, you can basically get the rest of an Iden team 7-star passively with not spending any energy. So what you do is you get Snow Trooper from opening up Bronzium packs, right? The ones you get ally tokens for. Stormtroopers Cantina tokens in the shipments. Magma Troopers Galactic War tokens. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Colonel Stark is through the guild store, so you can do it through the raid currency or the OG guild tokens. So you can have a full gear 12 Iden team while you're farming for your Malevolence team, right? If you just have like the leftover credits and some gear, and honestly most of the gear except the Kyrotex for Iden you can just get through the guild store, and that's why being in a good guild is like so important. So you're really, you only need to sidetrack to like get Iden Kyrotech. So that's why, and what I was saying was that if you could literally make your top wall like in Bronzium, right? Let's say where you have 2 teams per wall in 5v5. You could just make your top wall Grievous and Imperial Troopers or Iden Troopers, and then it forces them to use Wampa on one of them. Um, and so I mean they might use Wampa on your Grievous, and then they might just get stuck on your Iden, or vice versa, you know? Or you have like a really high relic Grievous, you put it on your back wall, and then you have like a gear 12 or low, or even like gear 8 like ish Iden team on the front wall. They waste their Wampa there maybe because they just don't want to risk it, and then they have to deal with the Grievous, you know? So honestly, it's really nice to go Grievous and Iden because of the overlap with farming the Vulture Droid, ship, and then it's really easy to get Iden's team up and running, and then also because they both require the same, what was I gonna say? They both require the same. One of the easiest, most common counters to both of those teams is the Wampa, so you can get them to waste it on one, not the other. And so just to sum up everything I'm talking about is that your primary focus should be fleet when you're roster building, and then assault battles, and then it should be GAC teams and getting into a really good guild. Um, and it does need to be what I showed you, but what I showed you was an example of one of the better ways to do it, I believe. And so and it could be anything. Like if I was thinking about this and I was like, okay, like what would be a good example for people who like want to build up something like, oh, Star Killer is my favorite, Star Wars character. And I was thinking about it and I was like, you know, Star Killer requires Dash, Kyle Katarn, Darth Talon, Marjade. Technically, Dash and Kyle Katarn are both Rebel pilots, technically, even though Dash doesn't have Rebel tag. You could, build up a full Rebel team with that, um, with the, what's it called? Raven's Claw, right? And then and while you're building up, your relic and your Star Killer requirements, and then you go for profund. You could go profundity afterwards, and this isn't something I would recommend, but I'm saying like, if you were to just rush Star Killer, it would probably be better than just rushing Star Killer and then not, like, um you also need for like the it's also basically like, you also basically need Millennium Falcon because it's needed for the it's a really good ship with this fleet. But like, you know, it's not like the requirements overlap, but I'm saying like you already have Dash relicked, and then you could get the Raven's Claw just to have with your fleet, for a little bit. So it was something where I was like, technically you could do it. It's not like crazy overlap, but it's something you could do. But and if you were to go Star Killer, you should do that. Or build up an Iden Versio TIE Defender Chimera fleet, to take and make it like so good against executors, because you're going to be facing a lot of executors in Fleet Arena and Grand Arena. So like every day you're basically going to be like climbing to try to get like rank 1 in Fleet Arena because it's not really good on defense. But yeah, like you could do that. Like whatever whatever team you're going to go for, I would say whatever like your whatever you really want, right? If you just really want a specific unit like gas, right? Make sure you build up a really good fleet that had like builds into the builds into gas, right? Um if you're going for a team like Jedi Knight Revan that really doesn't have a lot of ships associated with the requirements. I don't think any of them are pilots except him. He's needed with not Ethkoth, Carthonassus for their ship. Um, Maybe just start working on Geonosians and build up your Malevolence fleet because that's just a really good fleet overall. And then then get a team you like, and then build your assault battle teams. All right, so that's going to be the end of my ramblings about what I think is the proper way to do roster building, and why the idea of going for core teams isn't as like good as it is in the past, because I believe um the focus should be fleet into assault battles, then into GAC focused teams, right? And I think those three is going to help you get into a really good guild. Um because I think a lot of GAC focused teams uh tend to overlap with pretty good territory war teams. Like Geonosians are really good in territory war, and they're pretty decent in GAC. Um, I think teams like General Grievous nowadays, people. I mean, you could get the Omicron Majorica, but it's not like too crazy. Um, and also like and also if you go for Inquisitors early, you can and you get them relic 7. I think a lot of guilds will be willing to take you even if you don't have a GL. um and that's what I recommend. I don't recommend going for every core team because I think they don't they set you up for all like the bigger farms, but but that's not as important as setting you up for one bigger farm down the road. And I think like my free to play farm plan uh is setting me up for actually two. It's setting me up for Leia or Jabba, basically. um you could argue C because of C and executor overlap, but the reason I say two is because heavy investment into Captain Rex is a Leia requirement. on top of CLS, which has some like Leia overlap. And then for Jabba, you have Boba Fett, and I think with Jabba, there's a lot of incentive. There's not to go for a lot of the units here, like a Han Solo CLS overlap, Jedi Knight Luke, done. There's a lot of overlap and incentive if I like if I go for Tuskens on my free to play account, right? But I want to do something a little different, so that's why I'm not doing that. C3PO CLS would be easy to do. Relic up a little bit more. But then you have Aura Singh and Fennec, and the incentive would be to put Aura Singh as the new lead for my bounty hunter team, and you throw in Zam with her Omicron in there, relic her up, and then for Fennec, you throw her with like a Bam, and then you also have a Lord Vader counter. So that's the reason for Jabba, and then the overlap with Leia is like you have a lot of Ewoks 7 stars already. And so then you're just going to be taking them to Relic, and Nisa's obviously going to be what's slowing you down. Jedi Luke requirements, Lando 2 more Relic levels, Akbar, and then you have, Jedi Luke requirement right here, Jedi Luke requirement right here, C3PO, you just need a Relic him, and then you have just a few more Relic levels here, and a few more Relic levels here. So there's a decent amount of overlap, right? And then once you finish your assault battle teams, it's really like there's the next teams that are going to give you like a lot of resources are going to be Galactic Legends because of like the reoccurring Galactic Legend thing, plus Conquest. Having a Galactic Legend makes it so much easier. So yeah, that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. I of course rambled for a long time. I hope it helps. Those are my thoughts about roster building.